Start your mornings with Scott Passmore. Weekdays only on 3 TV. This is America Decides, Election Night 2020 from Arizona's Family.
It started 4 years ago.
The President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Tonight, the road to the White House could come down to Arizona voters.
A Joe Biden presidency represents chaos and anarchy.
It could be the devil, and I'd vote for him instead of Trump.
From Washington, D.C. to the Valley, Arizona's Family is covering all the key races.
Border security is national security.
Border security is critical to our state.
And the issues that matter to you.
People are so afraid of us getting justice.
USA!
Our students aren't getting the adequate funding to have a successful education.
What do we want? You are standing together and you are powerful.
So we're not asking anyone to use marijuana. We're simply asking them to allow it to be sold.
If we want to protect our children, public safety, our healthcare system, then vote no.
We have created 2.4 million new jobs.
We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
Our numbers continue to increase in Arizona.
President Donald Trump has put the health of America first.
Clearly, it hasn't worked.
It all comes down to tonight.
When America decides. Arizona's Family is covering election night like nobody else. Boy, you can feel the excitement. You can feel the anxiety. Yeah, all the feelings on this election night 2020. Thank you at home for joining us. I'm Brandon Lee.
I'm Yetta Gibson. Deep breaths, because you probably feel all of that. Polls closed about an hour ago here in Arizona, and we're expecting the very first numbers to start rolling in any minute. In fact, I think they're already rolling in.
Yes, and I think it is important to say at least this right out of the gate. Here's the reality tonight. We all need to accept it. We may not be getting the election results immediately tonight. In some states, officials won't even begin counting mail-in ballots until after the polls close, which will likely delay the results in places like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. But back here at home in Arizona, officials, they have been counting all of those early votes for almost 2 weeks. We are a battleground in this election in 2020. We're still waiting for some of those first numbers to start coming in for us here in Arizona. Of course, keeping a very close eye on the race for the Arizona Senate seat, which we will get to. Obviously, this is the presidential race.
Yes.
No votes counted in. I believe, Yetta, we're going to get these in at around 8:02, 8:03 tonight.
All right, let's take a look at, we're just looking at the races and the candidates here. Mark Kelly, a retired Navy combat pilot, NASA astronaut, has led this race from the very beginning. And of course, Mick Sally, a former fighter pilot herself in the U.S. Air Force. We've got team coverage for you tonight. We're covering all the key races, all the key issues for you. As you can see, we've got everybody everywhere for you, and we're covering all the issues that matter. We want to start with Scene. He's got a closer look at the race for the White House.
Yeah, and of course it all begins with the race to 270. That's the Electoral College vote. That's what put the president into the White House back in 2016 with the road to 270. So we just got a couple more states called for the president. They are Nebraska, Kansas, the 2 Dakotas, North Dakota and South Dakota, as well as Wyoming. So the president now starting to pick up that center part of the state. The former Vice President Joe Biden, he picked up Colorado, as well as New Mexico and the state of New York. So that is what it looks like right now, a 128 to 92 lead for former Vice President Joe Biden. As far as what the Democrats need to pick up, they call it building the blue wall, and it starts in the upper Midwest. They need to start picking up some ground with the swing states, Wisconsin and Michigan, and of course Ohio and Pennsylvania still in play. The president's team, they're calling it the Sun Belt sweep. They want to come down south, and they want to pick up North Carolina, portions of Georgia, as well as Florida. Right now, those swing states are still too close to call, so we're going to keep an eye on this, Yetta and Brandon. Of course, it's the race to 260. You can actually build your own map at home with your kids, your family members. You can do that right now. The link is right on top of our webpage, azfamily.com.
And Scene, we are getting some numbers into our newsroom tonight, right as expected at about 8:04 p.m. Let's go ahead and take a look at the presidential race here in Arizona. President Trump against Democrat Joe Biden. Again, a lot of these are mail-in ballots. We broke records here in Maricopa County. Joe Biden with the lead at 56% to 43%. Again, a lot of that vote likely, which we'll have to get to Dennis Welch and bring him into the conversation soon, because we had about 1.6 million early ballots here in Maricopa County, about 2.6 million statewide. Last night here on the air, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs said at 8:04 p.m. she was likely going to be dumping a massive amount of that mail-in vote.
All right, let's get to the Democratic Party here in Arizona. Well, they're not holding an in-person watch party, but they did get together on a Zoom call earlier this evening.
However, the Republican Party, they are gathering in person in the East Valley out in Chandler, and that is where our Kim Powell joins us live tonight. Hi, Kim.
Hey, good evening, guys. Things are starting to ramp up out here. I'm sure you can hear the live band that's playing, but I'm going to step to the side so you can see what's going on out here now. They passed around an American flag, and they had this entire crowd that was in these seats hold it up in the air. They started chanting USA, USA, and then the crowds that are in the restaurants where we're kind of wedged in between, everyone in there just started chanting because everyone's watching the results pulling in. We've heard from a couple of speakers now. We've heard from Liz Harris, who is running for the Legislative District 17 on the Republican nominee. And we've also heard from State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, who talked about the potential for President Trump to be reelected, which, of course, this crowd is extremely excited to get the results in this evening. And she also talked about the economy and how well it's doing, and also just about how many rallies that we've had here in Arizona. Now, this party that we're at is an invite-only event. We're told that there's going to be at least 200 people, and they're all precinct workers and poll volunteers with Legislative Districts 17, 18, and 20. And this is kind of their celebration after having to work at these polls all day, let alone all week, and all year, really, to just campaign for the Republican nominees. So we're going to send things back to you guys for now. We're going to keep an eye on the results as they trickle in and how everyone's feeling out here in the next hour or so. Guys, back to you.
It is certainly very loud where Kim Powell is, and I hope you brought your earplugs out there. She is with the Republican Party in the East Valley in Chandler. Kim, thank you.
We will check back in, but first we want to get back to the race for the Arizona Senate. Here are some initial numbers. Martha McSally sitting at 44% of the vote with only 1% reporting, and Mark Kelly 56% of the vote.
And remember, Martha McSally was appointed to the seat by Governor Ducey. She lost in 2018 to Kyrsten Sinema, a Democrat. She has been trailing in the polls up until election night tonight, so it'll be interesting to see what the final tally is for her.
Yes, and we're going to be talking to Dennis Welch a little bit later about whoever wins this seat and how they're going to fill the seat that was left behind by Senator McCain after his death. But first, let's get to Jared Dillingham, Spencer Blake. They're covering this race for us tonight.
That's right, and Spencer is covering the McSally campaign. We're going to get to him in just a moment. We begin our Senate coverage tonight with Jared Dillingham, who is live for us down in Tucson. And Jared is with the Mark Kelly campaign. Jared, what's the energy like down where you are?
Oh, Brandon, it's just totally different from covering any other election night down here, where there were just a few claps when the initial numbers came out because there's no crowd. There's a big stage behind me, but there are just a few socially distanced chairs in this patio garden area of a hotel down in Tucson. And the folks who are watching those numbers come in right now, those politicos, they know that these are early mail-in ballots. They're likely to skew toward the Democrats, so they'll be watching more results come in through the night to see if Mark Kelly can hold on to this lead, which he's broken out into in the early hours of this election night. So the polls have been good for Kelly for many months. They did start to tighten last week within the last 10 days or so. Martha McSally is within striking distance. She's within the margin of error, but you know, Kelly has run a campaign based as a moderate. He saw it working for Kyrsten Sinema 2 years ago. He's hoping the same thing worked for him. He was critical, highly critical of the administration's handling of the pandemic, but aside from that, he's been a moderate. He says he's going to work with people across the aisle if he's elected, and he hopes that's enough to carry him through to victory tonight. Remember, though, a couple years ago, during that McSally Senate race, it took a full 5 or 6 days to get full results and a full winner in that race. Kelly's message tonight to his supporters is be patient. Let's wait for all these votes to be counted. So that's the scene live here in Tucson tonight. Spencer Blake is with Martha McSally, Senator McSally, and her campaign up in Phoenix. Spencer?
And Jared, just like the Kelly campaign, the McSally campaign, working all the way through to the very last minute, even showing up at a polling location in Scottsdale earlier this afternoon when the polls were still open. Then tonight, after the polls closed, McSally was reminding everyone who was already in line not to get out because they could still vote if they were already in line before 7 p.m. So same type of thing, letting people know that every vote needs to be counted, whether they were in line. And also, she had mentioned earlier that she wants to wait and make sure that every vote is counted from the mail-in ballots, from the military ballots, all those types of things. Now, McSally had been averaging behind by about 5.5 points in an average of the major polls. Now, in some of those major polls leading up this week, she was within the margin of error, but as Jared mentioned, she was behind and slowly tightening up that race just a little bit. But keep in mind also, when we first see this this dump of counted ballots coming in that were mailed in or voted early, statistically, Democrats tend to do more of that mail-in voting, and statistically, the Republicans tend to show up more on Election Day in the polls to vote in person. So as more results come in, it could possibly be beneficial to McSally. However, we'll have to wait and see how long that takes. We know McSally's in Phoenix tonight, but the Republican gathering that Kim Powell is covering tonight with several state Republicans, including State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, we haven't heard any word that McSally's there. Yee was with McSally in her final push, the last 11 cities she visited in the final campaign over the last 2 days, but we still haven't heard anything about McSally speaking to any of her supporters or voters tonight as the numbers come in. Now, we'll keep an eye on it on our end. Kim Powell's also keeping an eye on it there to bring you more, if anything, of what McSally says to her supporters. So I'm live in Phoenix, and Brandon Yetta, let's send it back to you in the studio now.
All right, Spencer, we'll check back in with you. Thank you. We are going to go ahead and do the balance of power.
We got to do the balance of power right now.
I wanted to talk to Dennis about these initial votes that are coming in right now.
And we are going to get to Dennis coming up in just a moment, but we do need to look at the Senate and the balance of power. Those are the races that Jared and Spencer Blake are covering, the importance, because all eyes of the nation right now here in Arizona looking at the balance of power. Currently, Republicans, they control the upper chamber, but they don't by much here. Republicans do have the advantage, 53 to 47. So that essentially means Democrats need to net 3 seats. And when you really look at the map, they actually have to net 4 seats because they are expecting to lose the Alabama race, of course, which is Doug Jones, the Democrat. They're likely to lose to Tommy Tuberville. That would give them a tie. So then if Joe Biden wins, that would give his vice president, who would be Kamala Harris, the deciding vote to break any tie in the U.S. Senate. That is why, my friends, so much money has been spent here in Arizona. Republicans desperately trying to defend Martha McSally's seat. Democrats spending millions to take it back. So let's take a closer look at the race between Mark Kelly and Martha McSally.
Yeah, whoever wins the Senate race will fill the remaining 2 years of the late Senator John McCain's seat. We talked about that. They will not sit for a 6-year term like a normal senator because they have to fill this void. Remember, McSally was appointed back in 2018, as we discussed, to fill it until today, Election Day. Let's get to political editor Dennis Welch. He joins us now to talk about this and a lot more things we need to talk about too, Dennis.
Yeah, and I think we know heading into this race, obviously it's one of the big races in the country, as you are talking about the balance of power, as the Democrats are trying to do a couple things. Obviously, they're trying to win the White House, and they want to be able to hand Joe Biden Democrat-controlled Senate, and part of those plans that runs right through Arizona here, and they want Mark Kelly in that seat. We expected, going into this with the polls, Mark Kelly was going to be leading. We kind of expected, at least with the early batch of votes, that would bode well for Democrats voting early in Arizona. Still, I just have to say that even though it's quite a wide margin right now, there are still a lot of votes left to be counted, a lot of votes left to be tabulated and updated here throughout the night. So there's still a lot of time there, but you don't want to be in her position at this point with being the incumbent. You want to be, kind of come out in the lead. And I think throughout this entire campaign, she's had a little bit of a problem connecting with some of the voters out there, and it's been reflected in some of the polling. Now, was she able to close, and talking about McSally, was she able to close that gap in the final couple of weeks of this campaign to move those numbers to be able to carry her to victory and avoid losing that second Senate race in 2 years. We'll just have to see. Now, also heading into this election night, we saw that Mark Kelly, the former astronaut, was leading in all the polls, even though, you could tell he was pretty confident. He got around dodging a lot of questions about what he was going to do when he was first elected, if he was first elected. So, again, we just got to have to warn you, at this point right now, still a lot of votes out there to be counted, but right now, looking pretty good for Mark Kelly. You'd like to be in his position right now if you were in this race, guys.
And Dennis, there's been a lot of talk about the undecideds, or really those non-party affiliated voters who could end up deciding this election, the independent-minded Republicans, the moderate Republicans. Do you have any sense at all, if you're in the McSally camp, if they're going to break her way or if they're going to break towards Mark Kelly? Well, the polling data that I've indicated, and this is true also for the presidential race, is about 26% of all the ballots that have been cast early are independents. 37% Republicans, 36% Democrats. So, yes, those independents are going to have a big impact on this race. Right now, what we're seeing, at least in the presidential race right now, is that they're breaking big time for Joe Biden right now. We're talking about 60-40 in that area, and you're seeing that carry down ballot. You don't want to be in this position where you're losing these independents, which, again, is a big chunk of these voters, Brandon. All right, that is our Dennis Welch. You're going to be seeing a lot of yourself and a lot of screen time tonight, Dennis. As always, so good to have you alongside of us right here in the studio tonight.
Arizona's Family is your election authority.
And our team coverage, it continues next with our Heather Moore.
That's right, you guys. We are tracking the bid to legalize marijuana and the push for more funding for Arizona's schools. That's still ahead.
Arizona's Family News is sponsored by your Desert Ford dealers. Visit buyfordnow.com.
I went to United Vein Centers.
I went to United Vein Centers.
I went to United Vein Centers.
I went to United Vein Centers, and now my legs feel like new.
Call us today to schedule your free vein screening at one of our locations.
Wild thing. You know what I think? I think you owe us $48.50. Wild thing.
If you ride, you get it. Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Save big during the Living Spaces Veterans Day event, where you'll find incredible deals for the entire home. Shop our unmatched selection of the latest living room styles, comfortable and spacious sectionals for the entire family, dining rooms for your most memorable meals, and inviting bedrooms for a perfect rest, all at unbeatable prices. Plus, pay no interest for 2 years on select purchases with your good credit. Find these and other amazing deals in-store or online, only at the Living Spaces Veterans Day event.
Living Spaces.
Hi, I'm Mark Breyer.
And I'm Alexis Breyer. We're the husband and wife law team.
For nearly 25 years, we have helped serious accident and injury victims, investigating details others sometimes miss. We navigate the legal and insurance system to make sure people who have been seriously injured due to the negligence of others are protected. Our success in negotiating settlements or going to trial for the win is about protecting your rights.
If you've been injured in an accident, call, text, or visit us at husbandandwifelawteam.com. We're here to help.
I love having a 15-step commute to my office. It makes it super easy in the morning. I loved working with Tough Shed because I could get the really nice office space I wanted for a price that worked for me. Very easy to finish out the interior of the shed. The studs are where they need to be for an interior finish. And it helps me to really disconnect from work than when I go inside. I love the separation between the two. So I really had an easy process with Tough Shed.
I thought golf was over for me, but now I'm playing 3 times a week.
Stop living with the pain of vein disease. Visit United Vein Centers and experience healthy legs that make you feel like new. Call us today to schedule your free vein screening at one of our locations.
Welcome back, everybody. Here is a live look at a Republican Party underway right now in Chandler. Kim Powell's there right now. She tells us they are expecting about 200 people to be there tonight. And of course, we're going to check back in with her in just a bit.
And welcome back to our coverage, Election Night 2020, right here on Arizona's Family. Our entire team, we are spread out working this story tonight from about every angle possible to bring you the most extensive local coverage.
So keep it right here. We got you covered. Here's another look at the latest numbers in the Senate race. Mark Kelly still up 55%. Martha McSally still trailing by 45%.
And right now, Dennis Welch is trying to figure out what counties these votes are at to figure out where the outstanding counties still yet to be reported. We are working on that information to figure out where the outstanding ballots will be coming in from. Will that favor McSally, or will that add to the lead of Mark Kelly? It is still very early on here on election night, but we are getting new information just now into our newsroom on the presidential race and where we stand here in Arizona. So there you have it, with Joe Biden in the lead right now, 54% to Donald Trump's 45%. Again, it's going to be very important to see where the outstanding counties have yet to be counted from. So we're still waiting to collect that information. You got to look back quite a ways to 1996. That was actually the last time Arizona went blue. Bill Clinton won Arizona that year. But then in 2016, President Trump won Arizona with 48% of the vote. Hillary Clinton at that time earned 44% of the vote. So yes, it'll be very interesting to see if Joe Biden can actually grow that number to be bigger this year. It is also interesting to see how President Trump does this year in Arizona. Does he grow his base with the Latino vote that we're seeing happen in Texas and in Florida? Or does he lose moderate Republicans? Well, prominent Republicans like Senator Jeff Flake, they have obviously come out in favor of Joe Biden.
Let's get over to C now, who's looking at the top issues Arizonans considered as they headed to the ballot box.
Yeah, Yetta, we are using what's called AP Votecast, which is kind of the new high-tech version of exit polls. They basically surveyed about 4,000 Arizonans who went to the polls, and issue number one was the handling of the coronavirus as well as the economy. But now we're getting some new numbers of how the voters broke down as far as demographics, male, female, and different races. Here's votes by gender. And no surprise here, men and men pretty much split evenly between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Women here, this is actually a little bit of a different number here. 44% of women voted for the president to 54% voted for the former vice president. This has a margin of error plus or minus 2.1%. A lot of experts expected this number to be more in the mid to upper 60s as far as percentage points. Here's voters by community type: urban, suburban, small town, rural. You can, no surprise here, small town, rural went to the president by 54%. Suburban voters went to the Biden camp, but at a smaller number than projected. And of course, urban voters went to the former vice president by over 60%. This is the one that I want to bring in our political editor, Dennis Welch, on: white and Latino voters by race. And again, no surprise, white voters split pretty much evenly. But Dennis, a 61 to 37% break for Latinos. Did we expect this number to be any different at this point in 2020?
Well, I think heading into this, it was clear that President Trump was doing better amongst Hispanic and Latino voters across the country, particularly in Florida. But they've got a very different Hispanic Latino population than we do here in Arizona. We were expecting the president maybe to do a little bit better amongst this group, but that is nearly 40% of Hispanics and Latinos in this state. That is a big number. That's a little bit surprising for me. I would have thought that those numbers would have been a little bit lower, but I do know that the Trump campaign has been working very hard to reach out to this block of voters. They're not a monolithic group. They have different attitudes, and whatnot. And I know that they had opened up, at least the Trump campaign had opened up numerous Hispanics for Donald Trump, Hispanics and Latino for Donald Trump offices throughout the state, focusing on this important block of voters. Now, the idea was they thought that they were never going to win a majority of these voters, but if they could just do better than they did 4 years ago, that they would be setting themselves in a pretty good position. And as of right now, according to that data, if it is accurate, the Trump campaign certainly is doing better than they did 4 years ago with those voters.
Exactly. That's our political editor, Dennis Welch. Brandon and Yetta, we're getting all this information in from the Associated Press, including some more numbers. And I'm going to keep an eye on, of course, on that Electoral College, that road to 270. Of course, Arizona late tonight. We could be right in the middle. Arizona, of course, too close to call, along with Pennsylvania, Ohio, North North Carolina, and several other states. We'll toss it back to you.
All right, Scene, thank you. Now, aside from the candidates, we do want to get to the two big issues on the ballot, legalizing marijuana and investing in education.
And our Heather Moore keeping a close eye on both of those measures tonight. Heather, I know this issue was on the ballot back in 2016. At that time, making marijuana legal, it did not pass. It was close, but it didn't pass. Arizonans ended up voting it down about 51% to 48%.
Brandon, that's right. That was Prop 205. It lost with almost 49% of the vote here. Hot button issue, controversial for a lot of Arizonans. This time around, they made some changes to the prop. So right now, let's have a look at those latest numbers. So Proposition 207, it looks like this is going 60-40 right now for the yeses. It would legalize marijuana in our state. And what that means is that adults 21 and over would be allowed to possess up to an ounce of marijuana, or they would be allowed to grow up to 6 pot plants at their home in a lockable space out of public view. I believe we have some video. Medical marijuana dispensaries would be allowed to sell recreational pot, and the health department would oversee all of the licensing starting right away. So a 16% excise tax that would be collected, same as on alcohol and cigarettes, to be distributed, if we take a look at the list here, among community colleges, local law enforcement, on our roads, also public health programs. This is where that money would go. A lot of money from big marijuana helping to fund Prop 207 this time around. If you come back to me here on camera, also a lot of money also behind Proposition 208. Huge dollars for and against taxing the wealthiest Arizonans to fund K-12 education, which is also a very critical issue in our state. So here's a look at those numbers right now for Prop 208. This one, a much narrower margin, 54% saying yes to Proposition 208, 46% so far saying no. Now, you heard a lot over the years about how dire school funding is in our state, ranking toward the bottom of the country still. And you've also heard how this would hurt small businesses, Prop 208 here. It would tax individuals making over $250,000 and couples with taxable income of over $500,000 to help bring Arizona closer up to our national average. We still wouldn't get there when it comes to school funding. Our expert we interviewed says this proposition will affect between 40 and 50,000 Arizonans. About half of those filers do make their money from small businesses. But here's a list of where those taxes are expected to go. So it's expected to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars for K-12 education. Half of that going to teachers. I believe this is the wrong, you guys were looking for the Prop 208, the graphic for that. So half of the money would go to teachers and to fill our teacher shortage. We know 6 weeks ago our state was reporting about 3,000 open teacher positions, so this is critical. Also, a quarter of that money will go to school support services like counselors, librarians, and then the rest into training and retention programs. So the proposition includes language for strict accountability. The state legislature couldn't touch it. Now, here's the deal. Because Propositions 207 and 208 are ballot initiatives, and they both look like they're going to pass at this point. Citizens of Arizona put them on the ballot. They collected the signatures. So if they pass tonight, it would be very difficult for any changes to be made after the fact. You guys?
All right, Heather, thank you. And more results are coming into our newsroom right now. Here's a look at the Maricopa County Sheriff's race, a big one. As you can see, Paul Penzone leading, incumbent Paul Penzone, by 59%. Jerry Sheridan, Arpaio's right-hand man, down 41% of the vote. And Penzone obviously unseated Arpaio a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did that pretty big time back in 2016. And that race in 2016, it really wasn't even close. Sheriff Penzone won that race with 55% of the vote. Former Sheriff Joe Arpaio, he only got 44% that year. And one of the first things that Sheriff Penzone did when he took over, he got rid of Tent City. Morgan Lowe covering this race for us tonight. Morgan, what are you hearing out there?
Yeah, Brandon and Yetta, there was a big question coming into this election, and that was whether the voters of Maricopa County would embrace a sheriff like Paul Penzone, who is not in the spotlight. Very different from Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who he replaced. Penzone likes the department to speak for itself. He is rarely on television, and voters of Maricopa County haven't seen a lawman like that at the sheriff's office in a long time, and now he's facing this challenge from Republican Jerry Sheridan. Sheridan was Arpaio's right-hand man, beat Arpaio in the primary, came into this general election with a little bit of steam, but now the numbers are looking like they are going very much in Paul Penzone's direction. And I looked at some of the other county-wide seats, and it does look like Penzone is even outperforming some of the other Democrats running for county-wide seat. That means that he's attracting independents and Republicans. He's looking good at this point. Back to you guys.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Let's get over to Nicole Kreitz now. She is in studio with us covering the county attorney's race.
Yeah, the county attorney's race has been very interesting because we have a first Democrat in nearly 50 years, Adrian Fontes, who's the incumbent. He is also the first elected Latino in the entire county. And I believe he's talking right now. Are we going to go ahead and take a listen in? Let's go ahead and listen in real quick.
Way to have differences of opinions and diversity of thought. That's why elections exist. And so tonight we don't just celebrate political victories, we celebrate in this republic a victory of the democracy that helps keep us a free nation, and more of us have participated than ever before. Congratulations, Maricopa County. You have helped to preserve our democracy. Thank you. And now, State Senator Tony Navarrete. Congratulations, reporter, on your...
All right, so we were just listening to County Recorder Nicole Kreitz, Adrian Fontes. Of course, he's got something to be very proud of because 1.6 million votes, a record-breaking vote cast here in Maricopa County.
Are giving him the lead here, the advantage tonight. Here's the look at the early results, 53 to 47%. He is facing the man the GOP hired to investigate his botched 2018 primary. There were computer glitches, long lines. Republican Stephen Richer, again, he is down by 7 points at this point. He accused Fontes of being very biased and partisan when it came to voter outreach, and he says he was running to make the recorder's office boring again, his words. But Fontes says Arizona for too long has put up too many barriers for made-up reasons he says are simply immoral. Again, he's holding the lead right now. We'll keep an eye as this race progresses throughout the night.
Yeah, that was a big mess back then. I believe people stood in line for, what, 5 hours? It was a debacle.
Way past the time that the polling sites closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he promised that he would turn our elections around. You remember Helen Purcell held on to that office for 30-plus years, and she was booted out because that 2016
those
election.
long lines. I mean, people were out there, Nicole, for hours. But again, you've seen what's happening this year in 2020, the fact that we broke records here in Maricopa County. Now, put that into perspective. We did have a pandemic, so a lot of people didn't want to actually show up to the polls today. So I'm not sure that this is a record that may ever be broken again with 1.6 million votes cast early here in Maricopa County. But that is one of the races we're going to keep our eye on tonight as more votes continue to come in throughout the state of Arizona.
Nicole, thank you. Arizona's Family is your election authority.
And our team coverage, it continues next. Stay with us.
Join us for USA, a Beacon of Liberty, an online event to honor, recognize, and celebrate our veterans. Meet 7 veterans who served our country in conflicts from World War II to the present day. November 11th, brought to you by Sanderson Ford and only on Arizona's Family, Free TV.
You're more than just a number. That's why Cigna Medicare Advantage plans treat you like a whole person, body and mind. You get medical, dental, vision, and prescriptions all in one plan and pay no monthly premium. Learn more with our free Medicare Advantage guide. Don't wait to get a flexible, affordable Cigna Medicare Advantage plan. Go to ChooseCignaMedicare.com.
Parker & Sons, not just the best, but the safest too. Call Parker for your AC and plumbing needs.
Hi, we're OfferPad, the new way homes are sold. Go to OfferPad.com, tell us about your home, and we'll send you a great purchase offer. Or, if that's not your style, we can also list your home with tons of free OfferPad services.
Hi! I was able to sell my home, purchase my dream home, as well as get my loan through them, handyman services, landscaping, cleaners, the list goes on and on. I sold my home with OfferPad.
Start your free request today at OfferPad.com.
If you've been injured in an accident, before scheduling an appointment with just any law group, make sure it's handled by a lawyer and not their salesman. At Hastings & Hastings, we handle cases the right way, and our discount fee means more money for you.
Don't let the anxiety of shopping for new flooring gobble up your holiday spirit.
Call your local flooring experts, Express Flooring, and get installation before Thanksgiving, or it's free.
Fast, free in-home shopping and a feast of savings up to 63.5% on carpet, tile, wood, or waterproof laminate and vinyl plank.
And for a limited time with your signed contract, Express will have it installed by Thanksgiving, or it's free.
Call today.
Express Flooring is the best. Call 800-EXPRESS.
Election season's ramping up.
We bring in the big dogs.
This election season, stay with Arizona's Family and azfamily.com, Arizona's election authority.
Introducing the all-new Arizona's Family app, redesigned with live local news, interactive radar, and your forecast on your phone and on streaming TV. The app you've been waiting for is here. The all-new Arizona's Family app, live, local, free.
This is America Decides, Election Night 2020 from Arizona's Family.
And welcome back, everyone, to Election Night coverage 2020 right here on Arizona's Family. Results are coming in right now.
All right, let's get to the latest ones. Just in case you're just joining us, here's a look at where the presidential race stands. Here in Arizona, Donald Trump, 45% of the vote, with 41% of polls reporting. Joe Biden sitting at 54% of this vote.
And we also want to take a look at the Senate races here in Arizona. And we want to bring in our consultants because we want to get perspective on this race. We want to bring in Joe Wolf and Marcus Dellartino. Hey, guys, it's so good to have you here. Looking at the breakdown of the votes that are coming in right now, that mail-in vote to Arizona, where are you looking at? If you're Joe Wolf, if you're in the Mark Kelly campaign, are you seeing this as a positive, or do you see some negatives out there? Are you concerned tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, three-fourths of the vote is in. We've got a sizable lead here. Martha McSally's, in all likelihood, down in Maricopa County. She is down, excuse me. She's going to have to work really hard to claw votes back from other places in the state. I think the math is kind of against her here. So I'm feeling pretty good from the Kelly camp right now.
What you guys are looking at right now in terms of Arizona and where the numbers are? Is this what you were expecting?
I think that we're about where we thought we would be. What I would caution your viewers is that this is very early in the count. Some of these more Republican-leaning counties haven't fully come in yet. I think that these numbers are going to continue to not only close tonight, but into the next few days. I think continually I've had the question, are we going to have an answer tonight? I'm very doubtful about that. I think we're looking at a couple days of counting, and that'll give us a better perspective on where we're headed. But it's, to start the evening for this, for Republicans, not the greatest place to be, but I think it'll change.
All right, that is Marcus Dellartino and Joe Wolf. Guys, stand by. We'll come back to you. I want to go over to Sean McLaughlin over at the big board, kind of looking at the breakdown of Arizona. Break it down for us county by county, if you will.
Yeah, this is the Senate race, and I'm going to bring in the president race in a little bit. But, guys, go ahead in the control room if you want to pull this full. I'm just going to show you county by county. Let's start up north with Coconino County. Right now, just 35% of the votes coming in. That's what Joe and Marcus were saying. Some of these counties are kind of slow reporting. Mark Kelly jumping out to a sizable lead. That's not unexpected up in the northern part of the state. How about Maricopa County? At this point, it looks like these are the early ballots, with Mark Kelly jumping out to an early lead over Martha McSally. Down in Tucson, I'm kind of hitting the population centers, and if this is hard to read or see, just give a shout out. Right now, 64-35 to Mark Kelly over McSally. So let's talk about, or let's bring in our political editor, Dennis Wells. Dennis, any of these counties a surprise right now? You can see in the rural Colorado River counties like Mojave County, McSally taking a big lead, 68 to 31%. Same thing in Yuma County, of course, a Republican stronghold. Right now, actually, this is a little bit of a surprise. McSally and Kelly almost in a dead heat, 50 to 49%.
No, it does. None of that really surprises me when you start looking at rural Arizona. This is why the president in his closing arguments spent a big part of the last 2 weeks in his 4 4 stops here. He stopped in Prescott. He stopped in Bullhead City. A lot of the strength with the president was out there with those rural voters out there. Now, Yuma, it has, this has a history down there of being somewhat of a swing area. It sent both Democrats and Republicans down to the state legislature in different years. So I am not completely surprised by that. Now, if you also looked at the polling, you're talking about Mark Kelly, you're talking about President Biden top of the ticket there. You're definitely seeing that there's strong suits in the urban areas, in the cities, and spreading out a little bit into those suburbs out there. So those maps really not surprising me right now, considering, too, again, where did you see the president end his campaign in Arizona? He was heading out there to a lot of those rural areas, making sure that he got his supporters out there to the polls.
All right, so let's follow that up with this map. It kind of got a little bit bigger, so tell me if this is a little bit better. I spent a lot of time Bullhead City, right, Mojave County, and the president now taking a huge lead, 70 to 28% lead up there in Mojave County. Again, a strong Republican stronghold. How about Yavapai County? 70,000 votes to the president versus 44,000 to the former vice president, a 38% lead. But let's leave you, Brandon and Yetta, and you guys can talk about this one here in Maricopa County. Do you see that right there? Biden at about a 10-point advantage right now over the president. As Maricopa County goes, so does the state of Arizona. So this could be a very interesting race here.
For sure.
Scene, the other thing that we have to look at, Dennis and Scene, is those independent voters, those moderate Republicans, and which way do they swing both in Maricopa County and down in Pima County. If there is a large percentage of those independent or even the moderate Republicans, the Senator Jeff Flakes, right? If you follow what he says, or even Cindy McCain, if you're of that kind of Republican, where do you break in this race? Do you break? Do you split ticket? Do you vote for a Joe Biden? Do you vote for a Martha McSally? I'll ask both of you, Dennis.
I'll tell you, I mean, we've seen this. You don't have to go back that far in Arizona history. In fact, you just have to go back 2 years ago. You looked at Kyrsten Sinema. Well, she won that year. That same year, Republican governor won, and he won by big margins. The Republican governor, Doug Ducey, did, and Kyrsten Sinema was able to get enough Republicans out there to split those votes to go her way, to give her a victory over Martha McSally just 2 years ago. And I think with Mark Kelly this year, you're seeing him kind of follow that playbook, try to find that moderate edge, not go too far off one way or the other, and not say a whole lot on the campaign trail that is going to be controversial, and give those moderate Republicans a safe place to put their vote where they feel comfortable with that. You saw that in 2018. It was just rinse and repeat here in 2020.
And Brandon and Yetta, I'll just toss it back to you guys real quickly. Go back to the gubernatorial race with Janet Napolitano, a Democratic candidate, went right down the middle of the road, a very moderate race, and she picked off those independents to put her over the top in a very Republican-red state.
Right.
We'll keep tabs on it. You never know which way this thing's going to go. Guys, thank you. We'll check back in. Let's get to the latest numbers in the Senate race right now. Mark Kelly, Martha McSally. Mark Kelly still holding that lead, 55%. McSally at 45%. Let's get back out to Jared Dillingham and Spencer Blake, because they're covering this race for us tonight.
And we begin our coverage with Spencer Blake. Spencer, I know you are tailing the Martha McSally campaign. Any word of where Senator McSally is tonight?
Still no word on that, except that she's in Phoenix, is what we've heard, Brandon. And it kind of seems as though the McSally campaign is kind of aware of what's happening. She was already down in the polls. She was down in the polls for quite a while leading up to this election day. And she was out the last couple of days campaigning with the likes of Kelly Ward, who is the Arizona GOP chairperson, and State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, out on a Republican campaign trail. Well, both Yee and Ward are at the GOP get-together in Chandler tonight, but so far there is no word, no sign of McSally showing up there. So it may be that they're just waiting to see if these numbers continue to come in the way they are, that maybe McSally won't be facing any supporters or voters tonight. But again, we have not heard from her in Phoenix, but I am going to send it down to Jared Dillingham in Tucson, who's been following the Kelly campaign.
Hi, Spencer. We're in the same boat here. Yeah, no sign of Mark Kelly. In fact, most of his campaign staff, they've kind of disappeared behind the scenes as they all watch these results come in together. You can see behind me this huge stage they've set up in an outdoor garden area, and there's really only about 20 socially distanced seats for a crowd of a couple family members, a couple campaign staff, and that's really about it that we'll see out here tonight. So no sign of when Mark Kelly's going to be coming out, but again, Dennis is going to keep reminding people that these are early returns. The campaign here must be very pleased with these early returns, but we're going to wait to see what day of ballots bring us, what rural communities bring us as well. The one thing I did talk to Mark Kelly about the other day is the amount of money spent in this campaign. In the closing week, he was approaching $100 million. He's quick to point out most of it, he says, is from individual donors. But boy, Democratic Political Action Committee spent a lot of money on all the ads you've been seeing for the past couple of weeks, and the Republicans did the same for Senator McSally, a sign that this seat is seen as a must-win for both parties. We're going to sound like a broken record, but it's so important. If Mark Kelly pulls this off tonight, Arizona will have 2 Democratic senators for the first time in modern history. Yetta and Brandon, we will keep tabs on things here. We'll let you know when things develop.
All right, Jared, thank you. We'll check back in. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more action going on there where you are. All right, let's get out to Greg Stanton. We hear that he is at a podium right now.
And there he is. It looks like he's getting prepared to give a few remarks. Obviously, Greg Stanton, the former mayor of Phoenix, he won a congressional seat for the very first time back in 2018. And it looks like Congressman Stanton is about to take the podium and the mic.
What do you think? Well, first off, I've known Mark Kelly for a long time, and I'm proud to now call him Senator-elect, and that's a great title for him. And by the way, he's going to take a Senate seat in just the next few weeks because this is a special election. So as a member of the United States Congress, I can't wait to work with Senator-elect Kelly. He's going to be a great representative for Arizona. And obviously with the Biden numbers, it's looking positive, but it's still early, and I don't want to make any comments about what may ultimately may happen. But the Biden team have run a great race here in Arizona. They invested early here in Arizona, and most importantly, they built a bipartisan coalition. It was amazing to see Cindy McCain partner up with Joe Biden and endorse him. It was great to see our former Senator Jeff Flake endorse and support Mark Kelly, and you saw him reach out to all of the wonderful diverse communities in our state. So he put together a strong coalition. I think he's going to win, but it's still early to count votes, and I don't want to proclaim that too early.
All right, Greg Stanton there, House of Reps, District 9. Greg Stanton, as Brandon said, the former mayor of Phoenix, served 6 years in that role. His Republican opponent, Dave Giles, trying once again at this seat. He ran back in 2008 but lost that primary. So there are the current numbers. Greg Stanton sitting pretty at 66%. Giles at 34% at this point in the race.
District 9, it definitely leans. It's a very Democratic heavy area. That is why Greg Stanton was always expected to likely win this race. Very popular mayor here in the Phoenix area.
Arizona's family is your election authority.
And our team coverage, it continues next. Stay with us.
When you think RV, think La Mesa RV. Everyday low prices, top brands, huge selection. For nearly 50 years, La Mesa RV has helped people experience life. When you think RV, think La Mesa RV.
When all is said and done, America is the greatest nation on earth. And at Spencer's TV and Appliance, we'd like to celebrate America. And especially for all those who have fought for our freedoms with a special Veterans Day sale. Now you can save on all Maytag appliances, like this large capacity front load Maytag washer and dryer pair, each only $649. And with Spencer's, you always get speedy delivery and professional installation. Spencer's, it's like having a friend in the business.
Save big during the Living Spaces Veterans Day event, where you'll find incredible deals for the entire home. Shop our unmatched selection of the latest living room styles, comfortable and spacious sectionals for the entire family, dining rooms for your most memorable meals, and inviting bedrooms for a perfect rest, all at unbeatable prices. Plus, pay no interest for 2 years on select purchases with your good credit. Find these and other amazing deals in-store or online, only at the Living Spaces Veterans Day event.
Living Spaces.
Hi, I'm Mark Breyer.
And I'm Alexis Breyer. We're the husband and wife law team.
For nearly 25 years, we have helped serious accident and injury victims, investigating details others sometimes miss. We navigate the legal and insurance system to make sure people who have been seriously injured due to the negligence of others are protected. Our success in negotiating settlements or going to trial for the win is about protecting your rights.
If you've been injured in an accident, call, text, or visit us at husbandandwifelawteam.com. We're here to help.
3TV and Cliff Castle Casino Hotel bring you this Wheel Instant Solve. The category is Showbiz. Know this Wheel Instant Solve? Stay tuned.
Looking for a safe bet? Head to Cliff Castle Casino Hotel. Our enhanced cleaning and safety measures have paved the way for you to return back, getting you closer to winning, closer to dining, closer to relaxation, closer to it all. It's a safe bet only at Cliff Castle Casino Hotel. Visit us today.
This Wheel Instant Solve is live entertainment. Watch Wheel of Fortune, weeknights at 7 on 3TV.
When you think RV, think La Mesa RV. Everyday low prices, top brands, huge selection. A new Fleetwood Pacero LXE is discounted over $110,000. When you think RV, think La Mesa RV.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a live look at a campaign watch party. This is the Biden campaign. This is out in Delaware. Looks like everybody is in their cars.
It's been very popular, these drive-through campaign rallies that they've had during this pandemic. Obviously, both campaigns have kind of had to shift. They were out there doing their campaignings, with the Biden campaign typically doing these drive-through rallies. Looks like they got a lot of Jeep Wranglers out there, if I'm looking right. So Jeep country, wherever they're at in Delaware.
Right, we'll keep tabs on it for you tonight. Meantime, the Democratic Party here in Arizona not holding a watch party, but the Republican Party is.
They sure are. The event is being held outside in Chandler, and that is where our Kim Powell joins us live. Hi, Kim.
Says to me, maybe it's
good evening, guys. A little calmer than the last time you all checked in, but you can see everyone's in their seats right now. They're clapping and cheering as some of the results that favored Republicans are being read off. Now, we have also heard from Liz Harris, who is running for the Legislative District 17, which is here in the East Valley. We've also heard from State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, and we are expecting to hear from Kelly Ward, the Republican chairwoman, at some point this evening. Now, earlier, everyone here was on their feet, passing around an American flag as the band was playing in the background there. That's why it was probably so hard to hear me at this GOP event. Now, everyone at this invite-only event is precinct employees and volunteers for Legislative District 17, 18, and 20, and they are here to kind of celebrate the end of all their campaigning that they've been doing for the last couple of months. Take a listen.
And we'll resume their count at tomorrow morning.
I've been working really hard. So, knocking on doors is not a fun thing to do, but it's critical if you want to turn out your voters. So they've been working hard through the very hot summer months and through the more comfortable fall months, if there were any comfortable months at all. But so this is really their night. We want to celebrate them for all the hard work they did.
And we still haven't called Florida, right?
We have not.
Now, again, we are expecting Kelly Ward, the chairwoman for the Republican Party of Arizona.
It sounds like great to us. Kim, I apologize. Whatever's playing behind you, whatever they got going on, it is drowning you out. So we're actually going to move on. We're going to look at the latest numbers in the presidential race.
All right, let's get back to these numbers. 51% Donald Trump is sitting. Joe Biden at 41%, with 53% of the polls reporting.
All right, let's go ahead and bring our C. McLaughlin. He's back on the big board. He's looking at the Electoral College tonight. What are you looking? What are you seeing?
Yeah, the road to 270. You got a couple more updates in the president's corner. Missouri now being called for the president, as well as the great state of Louisiana. Also, the state right to the north of us, Utah, being put into the president's corner. But right now, we have some projections. And, of course, the projections that we are following officially tonight here on Arizona's Family is either the Associated Press or CBS News. And here are two big ones. Right now, CBS News is calling Texas leaning to the right. Also, they just announced just a few moments ago that Arizona, the Grand Canyon state, is leaning, Brandon and Yetta, to the left. in former Vice President Joe Biden's corner. So these are two big developments, two big swing states. We still don't know what's happening back here with Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I've got a lot of circles on this map because there is a lot of unpredictability
I do have
tonight.
questions. I got questions, and I'm glad you and Dennis are here because my first question is this. I want to focus here on Arizona, which has always been a very reliably red state, except for that one election, Bill Clinton, back here in the 90s. What happens, and Dennis, you could chime in here too if you want, bring you in it. What happens if Arizona, as CBS News is projecting tonight to lean towards Democrats, let's just say the Democrats win Arizona, where is the path in Arizona that helps Trump win the presidency?
Well, right now, I think, you got to look at this and see what precincts still have to report. Where are those ballots coming from? Are they coming from rural Arizona? Do we still have a lot of votes here to be tabulated in Maricopa County? Because, again, we've talked about this all night. A lot of the president's strength coming from those rural areas where Joe Biden, the former vice president, he's getting a lot of votes here from the metropolitan areas. He's getting a lot of support from Phoenix, from Tucson. So until we can dig back deeper into some of these numbers and see where these votes need to be coming from, I think that we need to hold off a little bit on that. I mean, if you're in the Republican camp, you're looking at these numbers, you're looking at CBS saying, well, it's leaning this way. It's not a good place to be right now. But I do have to caution, this is still early. There's still a lot of votes out there.
But I guess my question goes to, can Trump win the presidency in the Electoral College without Arizona?
All right, so my research, because I knew tonight I was going to be on the electoral map, and I knew we had to get a path to 270, right? You might argue with some of the different websites that I was looking at, they lean both ways, right? 538. Sean Hitchcock, our producer, yell out if I'm the correct number. They did 100 different scenarios, right? 100 different scenarios. How many scenarios had the president winning without claiming Arizona? How many? Zero.
Wow.
100 different scenarios. And if the president does not win Arizona, there is not a path to 270.
Because we've always said that no Republican president has ever won the presidency without the state of Ohio.
Correct.
Can then we say that no Republican president has ever won the presidency without the state of Arizona?
Yeah, the scenarios doesn't seem like they can take the presidency without winning the state of Arizona. And I think that the fact was no president, Dennis, if you can correct me on this, no president has not won the state of Ohio and won the presidency since 1956, I think it was.
That's a little bit before my time.
Exactly.
Actually, you're going back to that time with the last time Arizona, before Bill Clinton had actually voted for a Democrat, and that was, Harry Truman back in 1948. You're going back pretty long way.
So
there.
I think we can settle up this argument, Brandon and Yetta, with just keep an eye on the swing states, which right now, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Arizona. We are right in the middle of this, folks. We are, I know it's what, 8:55 Arizona time?
Midnight.
I think we're going to be here at midnight, maybe even longer. Maybe even longer.
And our experts say Arizona won't even be called tonight. That's what they're expecting. But
which is such a surprise that CBS News a few minutes ago said, hey, we're leaning to the left.
A very conservative network. I don't know. They were looking at some internal polling. They're looking at some internal data that is coming back that maybe we are not privy to. We are still waiting, Dennis, right, to figure out what a percentage of the totality of the votes have already been cast and counted and released.
We should, at least in Maricopa County, we should be getting some votes, some updates here soon from the county of those day of voters, those voters who went out to the polls today. Because although they stopped counting early ballots earlier in the day, the ballots that were cast today by voters were being tabulated as they were being cast this afternoon. So we should be getting some more of those types of updates here a little bit later here in the evening. I mean, it's almost 9 o'clock. Maybe we should be getting something here within the next 15, 20 minutes. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm assuming we should be getting those numbers here pretty soon, and maybe that'll give us a little bit of more clarity.
And one more state that Vice President Joe Biden just picked up in the Northeast, New Hampshire. He picks up 4 electoral votes. So, guys, I'm going to leave you with this right now, 132 to 116. That is the path to 270 right now, very close, 132 to 116. Again, that strategy of building the blue wall for the Democrats. We still don't know about Michigan or Wisconsin. For the president, they call it the Sun Belt swing. He still has got to pick up North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and then Texas, Arizona, Nevada could be the swing possible states. we're in for a long night, it looks like.
Yeah, it's getting real.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, let's get back to a big race that we're following, of course, the latest numbers in the Senate race. Mark Kelly still holding steady at 55%. Martha McSally down 45%. We're still looking for Martha McSally.
Yeah,
and Mark
she's.
Kelly,
we know Mark Kelly's down in Tucson because that's where Jared Dillingham is. It is rumored that Senator McSally is somewhere up here in the Phoenix area. We are still trying to track her down, perhaps get in touch with her campaign to get her reaction as she is starting to see the numbers. We are also expecting another fairly big dump coming from the Secretary of State's office in Katie Hobbs here in the state of Arizona. But not only are the eyes of the nation on Arizona right now as far as the Electoral College goes for the presidency, Yetta, but we are all eyes of the nation now on us because of the Senate race. It has already been called in Colorado. John Hickenlooper seems to have defeated Cory Gardner there. That is a pickup for the Democrats. And it appears right now that Cal Cunningham in North Carolina is in the lead over Tom Tillis. That could be another possible pickup. But again, all eyes here on Arizona as this night continues. And as Scene mentioned, we are in for a very long night, and we appreciate all of you at home tuning into Arizona's family for this election coverage, because your votes still at this hour, Yetta, they are all still being counted.
Yes, Brianna Whitney is live in Phoenix with more on that.
Yeah, Yetta, we're at the Maricopa County Election Center tallying in all of the ballots, all of the votes that are coming in here. So I want to give you just some numbers that we got right off the top here. Officials came in and gave us the unofficial early results numbers from the early votes. That was mail-in and early voters. Those came in with Biden and Harris at 53.66%, Trump and Pence at 44.12%. Now, we should say there's still 250,000 early ballots that are on site here that still need to be counted. They also then need to factor in all of the early ballots that were dropped off today, plus about 167,000 in-person votes that are coming in right now. So we want to show you actually what's going on behind us. So you guys know Hamilton